I want to play house. Let's play house together.
My name is Edward Povey. I'm from England. I've lived in Korea for 15 years. I came to Korea in 2006 and worked in a language academy. I also lived in Spain before. Currently now I teach at Hankuk University and I teach in the Graduate School of Education and I teach here at the TESOL Professional Education Centre. I've also taught at Seoul National University of Education and I'm an IELTS examiner, which is an international language test.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V.
I think the main advice is lots of exposure as soon as possible, as early as possible, right? There is a misconception that age, there's a perfect age or that we shouldn't introduce a second language at a certain time. I think that is really not the case. If you look at most countries of the world, bilingualism is the norm. It isn't unusual. Many families, many countries around the world have bilingualism, even trilingualism, as a normal aspect of their life. So I would suggest lots of exposure at an early age. My children, they were listening and understanding things from 1 year old, Korean age, 2 or 3. So don't wait until a certain age. As soon as possible, you surround them with English, have posters on the walls, lots of books, listen to English songs and TV shows and things like this. Lots and lots of exposure.
I see the trees, so green.
Yeah, it's a common question. In my work, I meet a lot of mothers and parents who are really interested in this kind of thing. I would say, lots of exposure at an early age. The thing with young learners is they can absorb a lot of language. They can take in a lot of language. Remember that comprehension is different from production. Young learners are used to listening to language above their level, even in their native mother language. They hear conversations in Korean around them, and they maybe only understand, 20 or 30%. So they have a high tolerance for not understanding everything they hear. And that's the same with the second language as well. So there's no harm in introducing a second language, having exposure to a second language. For very young learners, I would focus on things like listen and point, rather than trying to get them to speak, okay? So being able to recognize animals or letters and so on, that is the beginning of language. And a lot of parents kind of push for young learners to produce language. They want them to speak, But, young learners need a lot of time for input. They need a lot of language input before they can, output the language. So yeah, things like listen and point, lots of listening activities, and just be aware that they're absorbing in that time. For very young learners, something that I found very useful with my children is to start with numbers. Young learners can recognize numbers and start to learn numbers before they can start to read, right? So I would suggest numbers is a good kind of bridge to lead them towards reading, because reading is looking at symbols and recognizing symbols and turning those into spoken language. So written language is basically symbols that mean spoken language. So if you start with numbers are simple, easy to recognize. We see them everywhere in our daily life. So if you can start with them recognizing numbers, that teaches them that these symbols they see in their everyday life represent spoken language. And I've found that very useful as a way of kind of bridging towards recognizing letters and then into reading.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
10 happy dots say hello.
Songs are rhythmical. They have chanting, they have a rhythm, they have a melody, and you'll often find that young learners will respond and repeat, and they'll try to sing, even if they aren't pronouncing the words correctly. They'll if they catch a song that they like, and if it becomes memorable for them, that you'll find them trying to sing the song. For example, my younger son at the moment is obsessed with birthdays, because it was his birthday last month. So for a whole month he's been obsessed with birthdays, and he, every day he's trying to sing the birthday song and so on. But yeah, it's similar with reading. When children find a book that they like, they will pretend to read the book, and you'll sometimes catch them saying some correct words that they've learned from the story. But yeah, songs are very effective, I think.
Singing these songs for Chatty Cat English has been so much fun. I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed recording it.
Recording for Chatty Cat English has been some of the most fun I've ever had at work.
But I gotta tell you something, working with Chatty Cat English has been a blast. They got songs, they got stories, they got all kinds of things.
Recording for Chatty Cat English has been so much fun, and all these songs are such a blast to record. I hope you enjoy them.
And I've had such a good time recording for Chatty Cat English, and I hope you love the songs just as much as I have.
I love recording these songs for Chatty Cat English, and I hope you love them too.
I've had so much fun recording Chatty Cat English. I love these songs so much, and I hope you love them too.
I can help you, I go.
I can help you. Look at me and follow the
Hello everyone, I'm Chatty Cat. It's time for Chatty Cat English. Come and play with me. Yay! You can sing along.
Well, it's very memorable. Yeah, it's very memorable. It fits with something with young learners that you have to remember is they're still in the process of learning their first language. So in their first language, what would they do? They'd be reading books, they would be listening to questions from adults, they'd be singing songs, watching TV shows. So all of those kind of ways that we teach the first language, those ways are suitable for teaching a second language.
I like my big underpants.
Sure. Yes, yeah. Learn by play. Yeah, and very much, as I said, the way that they learn their first language, the same kind of media, the same kind of input. Yeah, and play, that's a great word as well.
Please come to my dance party.
Yeah, well, so some parents, like I found some parents are very motivated, their own English is quite good, so they can take the time to, have English in the home, reading books together and so on. But I would suggest that, even if you're not confident with your own English, don't be afraid of technology. I think technology, when it's used for good, can be very, very effective, right? So, interesting thing about these books is they are a balance between authentic storybook and I call it a pedagogical storybook, which basically means a storybook that's designed for teaching reading, okay? So there's different kinds of storybooks. We have authentic storybooks which are not specifically designed for education, just, fun stories for children. But then you have book series that are designed for scaffolding, for teaching education, yeah. So those books, they're usually a series, they have different levels, they're carefully written to support and develop young learners' literacy. But an interesting thing that's happening now is that many authentic storybooks are taking ideas from these structured educational books. So many authentic stories are borrowing ideas from there, and then many of the book series, the educational books, are borrowing ideas from authentic. So now you're getting a really good balance of authentic stories that have good characters, meaningful interactions, meaningful outcomes in the stories, you know, and those kind of stories are more likely to grab learners' attention and to get the children interested, because they're you know, there's characters that they can actually relate to. There's interesting things that happen in the stories.
It's spring, it's warm in spring. Let's play in the puddles. Spring is fun, what a nice day.
Something that I like about these stories is they do have that balance between authentic and educational.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? Next time, won't you sing?